Hi class, how you doing today? We are going to start chapter 6 this week, and this talks about interviews and eyewitness identifications. So again, ensure you read the whole chapter. There's a lot of good information and good terminology for you to understand in this chapter. There's a lot of objectives for this chapter, and make sure that you look at these, read these, understand these. And again, if there's any questions about any of these, you can go ahead and place the questions into the discussion tab or email me. So again, a lot of objectives, so make sure you read those. Okay, there's a good case file about the BP gas station robbery and about interviews and witnesses. So you can read that and come up with some answers because there's a lot of questions about what happened with this case and how it was solved. So the definition of an interview, of an investigative interview, is any questioning that is intended to produce information regarding a particular crime or suspect. So the goal of an investigative interview is to develop information to move the investigation forward. It's not to solve any crimes, it's to develop information. Okay, that's a definition of the investigative interview. There's many different witnesses and witness information types, and basically, as you've heard in movies and TV shows, a primary witness has direct knowledge of a crime or of a suspect. Some primary witnesses can be eyewitnesses, that they have viewed, seen, or know about the crime because they were there. Secondary witnesses have information about related events before or after the crime, but they do not have actual information about the crime itself happening before or after. So those types of witnesses are identified in reports when the investigator takes reports from witnesses and decides which they're going to be. Witnesses can provide a lot of information: actions of the perpetrator, descriptions of the perpetrator, identification of the perpetrator. Then again, witnesses and eyewitness information is largely unreliable in many cases. Unfortunately. Methods of eyewitness identification. Witnesses can provide information so someone can draw a sketch or a composite picture. A forensic sketch can be done by a computer, or they can confirm a photograph of the person. And this should be done only when the witness knows the identity of the perpetrator to positively identify the person using a photograph. Mugshot books, those are basically books, or not necessarily books, they're large pages of photographs of previously arrested or detained individuals that match the witness's description. They're not necessarily in books anymore. They're going to be on a computer screen. They're called mugshots. They can do 6, 9, 12, however many they want to do. There's also show-up identification, where basically suspects are brought down to the police station, sheriff station, and they literally line up for a witness to identify. And they can have them step forward, they have them speak words. And again, there's interesting things that go on at a show-up identification. If you've seen this on TV, the perpetrator, the persons that are there for the show-up identification cannot see the person that's trying to identify them. So it's very interesting how those work. This is your basic photo lineup that can be used. What's important is that as you look at these individuals here, the photograph should be the same, have the same head size, should have the same things that are hanging around their neck. The background should be the same. There should not be a photograph where one of the person's heads is larger than the others that stand out. So sometimes photo lineups can be very deceiving to people, but that's your basic photo lineup right there. Do you see a person in this lineup that you can identify as the perpetrator? There's your physical or live lineup right there. Again, if you look, all the people are dressed the same. T-shirt, orange jumpsuit, and a beanie cap. So that would be a good lineup because nothing really stands out because they all look the same. The only difference is the faces, eye color, hair color, things like that. So that's what a live lineup would look like. And then over here, behind a false glass where you can't see through, false mirror, would be the person identifying the person, or hopefully trying to. Value of eyewitnesses. Again, eyewitnesses are the least reliable types of information. Eyewitness error is the most common factor in wrongful convictions. So again, you may think you see what you see, but many times it's not what you see due to various factors. A lot of these factors go into the memory process of people, of our brains. So there's encoding is when the event is perceived, what you think you see. Storage involves the filing of the information in your brain. And then finally, the retrieval occurs when the mental record or file is activated. So what you necessarily see in the beginning is not necessarily what you may retrieve. Okay? So that's why memories are not necessarily good to use when it comes to eyewitnesses. Factors that influence the accuracy. And again, circumstances like the lighting, if it's dark, if you're wearing glasses, if it's rainy, if it's foggy. Also characteristics of the witnesses, like their fear of what they're seeing, any expectations, knowledge of the situation, age, physical conditions, and gender. Those can all go into issues about how a person sees something, because no person's going to see the exact same thing the same way, depending on a lot of factors, during the encoding stage or when you see it. The storage stage, information at that time of the event, once you have it in your brain in the storage area, getting that information back out could be days, weeks, months, or years. So it could be inaccurate as you bring it back out from the storage area. And again, the way witnesses are questioned or worded could bring back different memories. So some guidelines for the lineup, like we said before, they should not know who the suspect is. The eyewitnesses should be told the perpetrator might not be present. Okay? And the suspect should not stand out in any way. Like we've shown you, everything should be the same. And a clear statement regarding the confidence of the eyewitness identification should be reported. I am positive number 3 is the perpetrator. I have no doubt that person number 4 in the lineup is the perpetrator. So it's very clear, not, well, I think so, it could be, maybe. Okay? Have to be very clear. Problems. The description may not be accurate. Perpetrator may have unique feature not noticed by the witness. A mole, a scar, different color eyes, different color hair, different hairstyle, tattoos, everything else. So again, that's one of the problems with lineups. And also, they may provide conflicting descriptions of the perpetrator because they're not sure. So that's why lineups and eyewitness identification is very difficult sometimes, and sometimes should not be used. Hypnosis is not used very often. It's sometimes used as a last resort, but it is not admissible in court, and very few cases are solved due to somebody being hypnotized a witness about a crime. Cognitive interviewing. This basically encourages witnesses to recall what they saw. And there's some techniques that interviewers, that investigators can use. Some techniques include recreating the events. Again, putting the person at ease, focusing on deep breathing, closing eyes, relaxing, retrieving the event in multiple ways. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you sense? What did you feel? And again, there's various techniques to do this. Sometimes there's leading questions. It doesn't work for everybody, but this is just one type of interviewing that's used for witnesses. There's traditional police interviewing and cognitive interviewing. So there's some problems that are associated with traditional police interviewing. And basically, someone's taken into a interview room, doors closed, person's handcuffed. They may not be handcuffed. There may be frequent interruptions of the room, short answer and closed-ended questions, inappropriate, arbitrary, or rigid sequencing of questions, negative phrasing of questions, okay, non-neutral questions, inappropriate or formal language. So someone could swear or use some type of language that you're not used to, slang, etc., etc. Questions are asked rapidly. Insensitive comments may be made. And then this can lead to failure to follow up on potential leads. So traditional police interviewing is what we usually see, and it's rapid fire, trying to get information, not being very cognizant of someone's sensitivity on certain issues. So again, there's two schools of thoughts about how you're going to interview a witness, okay? Some basic rules of effective interviews done by police. Obviously, witnesses should be separated and interviewed one at a time, separately. They should be conducted far away from distractions, not necessarily in the back of a police car, but where there's going to be no interruptions. They should be done as soon as possible after the event occurs. And the interviewer should start out with gaining a rapport with the witness, asking their name, how far they went along in school, ask some basic questions, and not just get right into the questions. So building a rapport is important at the beginning. Okay, that's a good overview of this chapter, so make sure you read it. If you have any questions, let me know. And you have a great day, and we will see you soon.